Zachary Slater, Matthew, Perry, Daniel, Jacob, and Madison, and we are Team Gamer Trainer. We're going to watch a little video before we say anything else. It's not a movie. Video.
Please listen carefully. Hi, my name is Zachary Slater. I am a senior computer science student at Xavier University, and for our capstone project this year, we implemented Gamer Trainer. Gamer Trainer is a video game that teaches non-gamers the essentials of playing a first-person shooter game. This includes things from moving to looking to the more complicated and specific things such as shooting, crouching, and sprinting. What we realized was that the current methods for teaching a non-gamer would really drain the skills necessary to play these games was fairly non-existent. We wanted something that was less frustrating than Call of Duty, where you have people who are yelling at the players and telling them in a very intense manner what to do. We wanted to put them in a much less stressful environment and give them the opportunity to learn at their own pace and divide the skills up so that they could focus on just learning how to aim as opposed to having to put all the skills together at once. What this translated to in our final project was a 4-tutorial game.
In the course of our research, we discovered that action video games have actually been shown in many publications to improve cognitive abilities, specifically perception and cognition skills. These skills can then be translated into other areas, such as driver's ed and reaction time improvements. Additionally, by providing parents with the ways to learn how to use a controller and play with video games, they can actually experience what their kids are playing with their kids, and this can help them better judge if their kids are ready for this kind of game or not, instead of having to trust some marking on a box that they may not fill out. Also, it allows improved family relations because they're not trying to force the kids away from the things that the kids want to do all the time. They actually come and play with their kids at their kids' level.
We always wanted our game to be a proof of concept for future work in this area, and we are very proud to present what we have here now. Thank you for watching, and here.
Alright, so as the video mentioned, Gamer Trainer is itself a video game that we really focused on non-gamers as an area that had no real, there was nothing out there that really focused in on non-gamers. And so what we wanted to do is use our game to teach the controls to a first-person shooter game and train them in the controls. What we figured out was that learning how to use the controller was a very difficult thing for a non-gamer. It wasn't as simple as telling them what buttons to push. So we wanted to offer a much better environment to train them in those skills so that they could actually play at a better level.
If you've never experienced use of a Xbox or any console system controller, it can be pretty simple. There's 8 digital input buttons, 2 analog triggers, a 4 or 8-way directional pad, and then 2 clickable thumbsticks, but each has 2 axes. Most games nowadays assume that the player already has a familiarity with the controller and the game mechanics, simply just giving them a quick tutorial and then throwing them out there into the game. Many games today are also massive online multiplayer games, and when you're cast out into that world with people of all different experience, it can be discouraging to new players. So what Gamer Trainer wants to do is create a tutorial that's customizable for the player. Learn one thing at a time. You can repeat steps as many times as you like until you're comfortable with all aspects of the controller. Now Jacob will tell us a little more about our approach.
Typical in our game, we built it on top of the Unity engine. It provides a lot of features that is really easy to use. Inside the Unity store, we found an asset library called FPS Constructor that provided a lot of the assets for us to use, especially like gun assets, animations, and stuff like that We're not biz people, we're not as experienced in animation, so that would take the entire semester in and of itself. So we were able to use the library to implement a lot of the basic features of the FPS game genre. And then a lot of what we focused on was level design and how the user interacted to learn the individual skills. As Zach mentioned, we broke it up into four basic levels or tutorials. Each isolates a different part of the learning experience and introduces it to the user individually. The first one is called Meet the Controller, and all it does is just gets the user familiar with how to hold the controller. One of the things we found out early in the semester, we gave a controller to our professor, Dr. Hammond, and just asked her kind of what her intuition was, what some of the buttons did, and how to hold the controller. And she had troubles, which is basic, maybe this does this, not sure. So the first tutorial just goes through each one of those controllers and reinforces how to hold them, what each one of them does. Next, we learn to look, and this is kind of where the real teaching begins. And so we isolate the skill of learning to look. So the user can't even move. If they move, the moving stick does nothing. They learn to use the crosshairs to point the gun at boxes, to shoot the boxes, and to just how to look around the environment. Next one, they learn to move. So in this one, it's the reverse. They can't look. They're fixed in one direction, and they're introduced to strafing back and forth in order to destroy targets, going back, forward and back. And then they're kind of going through a real simple obstacle course using those skills. And lastly, in the fourth one, we put together a final test where we combine both looking, moving, shooting, and a few of the other advanced FPS controls and needed in one final obstacle course at the end.
So, yes, we made a video game for our capstone project. You may be asking yourselves, as we did early on, how does this help society? What benefit does this have? And so what we've discovered is that there actually have been a significant number of publications that have shown that action video games have shown or people that play action video games actually have improved cognitive abilities in some aspects, and they can actually transfer to other areas. So, for instance, one specifically targeted driver's ed students, and the researchers went and talked to the instructors at the driver's ed schools and found that gamers typically performed significantly better and picked up the skills necessary for driving a lot faster than those that weren't accustomed to games. They've also, other studies have shown that gamers typically have improved search and detection, so you can be thrown into an environment, whether that's driving, and you can pick out specific objects that are necessary for whatever your task is. So if you're driving, I can see other cars where they are faster, I can recognize signs, I can recognize obstacles, and then additionally you can see, you can take in more information, which is greater spatial resolution in crowded environments. So if it's a very dense road, if there are a lot of cars on the road, I can see that and I can plan out faster where the cars around me are moving, their trajectories, and then I can more quickly find a safe route through obstacles or through other cars to navigate that particular road. Also, we would like to help bring families together by not only providing parents a way to figure out and learn and experience the games their children are playing and determine if these games are in fact helpful or if their kids aren't necessarily ready for these games. But we also would like to be able to bring parents into their kids' lives and not just have to always pull them away to go do stuff with their kids. Like, yes, it's great to go play outside with your kids, but we also want the parents to be able to meet the kids in front of the TV because that's what their kids like to do. And always trying to take them away from what their kids like to do will cause some potential issues, or potentially can cause some issues. So we'd like to bridge that gap. And a lot of systems have already done this. The Wii is a very popular one for families because it has natural, or it's trying to bring in a new realm of controller abilities. So you're using more natural movements instead of just using a standard controller. And that allows parents to be able to pick it up faster. And then the Kinect additionally, or of course the Kinect allows your whole body to be the controller. And so you're not actually holding a physical device.
So we did a single user study at the end of the semester after we had completed our design of the actual game. and we pointed out to us that if we had someone, originally we were going to have someone play a level in Call of Duty, which is a popular first-person shooter, and this particular level, which is pictured there, is an obstacle course where the game tells the player where to go, what to do, and they shoot targets, and then it times them, and they try and get to the end as quick as they possibly can. And so we were going to have them play the level and time them, and then play Gamer Trainer and play through our system to see, to train them on the controller, and then have them play the level again and see how they improved. It was pointed out to us that playing the level twice in a row would actually increase improvement just by the in of itself. And so we implemented two different groups. We had a control and an experimental group. And the control group played the level in Call of Duty twice, and we recorded their times both times. And so that graph is in the top left. That's the control. The left bar of each column is a different user, and the left is the first time, and the right is the second time. And then the experiment group played the Call of Duty level, played it through Gamer Trainer twice. It ended up being fairly short, about 5 to 10 minutes for each user. And then we played the Call of Duty level again, and we again recorded the times, both times playing the Call of Duty level. And once again, the graph on the bottom right is our experimental group, and it is displayed similarly. And so what we found was that players who had previous experience in games often didn't improve as much because they came in already with a fast time, already had a lot of experience, and so they didn't really improve both in playing the Call of Duty level and also in using Gamer Trainer. As you can see, the user 3 and 4 on the experimental group are both very low, and very little improvement can be seen in them. But user 1 and 2 in the experimental group started out with very high times, and so the improvement was significant when they played the level again. So what did we find in our studies? What did we learn? We learned that repetition is key. The improvement from playing the level over and over again, we actually had a couple of our users play the level 5 times in a row just to see how much they would improve. Was surprisingly high to see how much they would improve just by playing the level. A lot of that came from being familiar with the level, where things were, where they were targets were supposed to be, and where they were supposed to go. But that we realized should be implemented into our actual game itself, and so repeating tasks, asking players to do one thing and do it again helps ingrain that into their memory. And so teaching someone how to do something, we learned that repetition would be something that we should focus on more in our game. Several times in designing it, we thought that we were being very obvious of go this way, don't go this way. During one tutorial, there is kind of a quote-unquote maze where it's just a path the player has to follow. And I had designed it in a way that I had made one path red and one path green, and I had assumed that people would assume that was red, that was blocked, you can kind of see it's blocked, they wouldn't go that way. But over and over, players would jump up on that path and stop and be, what do I do now? And I was like, well, it's blocked, you should go back and see if the other way can go. And it surprised me to see how often things that I believed was very obvious, things that I thought would be simple to a player, ended up not being at all. And so making more visual cues, more obvious instructions, arrows, go this way, kind of leading the player, especially the first time they play through the game, would be more beneficial. Also, as you can see from the picture, maybe or maybe not, there's a little gray box at the bottom, which is text, and that is where we're telling the player what to do. So in this case, it says shoot the 3 boxes in front of you. And we learned that players didn't like reading the text. We would update the text every time something happened. So for example, in this tutorial, when you shoot those 3 boxes, 3 more boxes would appear, and the text would update and say, now 3 more boxes have appeared, please shoot these as well. And players would often do a task and then stand there and be like, all right, what do we do next? And we're like, well, we can read the text because it's telling you what to do, but they wouldn't realize that the text had changed, or they just wouldn't want to read the text. They wanted to get into the game and do something, not sit there and read instructions. And so we learned that telling people to do with text is not the best way to do it. We need more visual cues, more audio cues, potentially voiceover, or some way to kind of use pictures to tell people what to do and where to go. And so those are things that we could have done a lot better. We also received feedback about those at the SRW Student Research Week and the Engineering Showcase and the Banquet. Were three times that we presented this in front of people.
Alright, so in conclusion, we really wanted this game to be a proof of concept. It takes a lot more than a semester to make a polished game, and it takes a lot more than 5 programmers to make a polished game that has fantastic user interaction, which is what this game requires. It requires kind of holding the hands of people who aren't experienced with games and helping them through it. But what we did find through this was just people who were excited about this idea, people who wanted to play video games, but every time they picked up the controller, it was just a frustrating experience for them. And I do believe that there's a need for a product like this to help bring in more people into this area. So yeah, now we're going to open up for questions.
I need one of those. Serious government question. That's a good idea.
We got that reaction.
I'm sure you did.
Do we have time for a short 45 seconds demo?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we have time for a longer demo?
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions while we're getting that set up?
Absolutely. We originally planned on splitting up even more and doing 8 tutorials, but we figured out that it took so much logic and debugging for each tutorial. You enter in a little bit of logic into the game engine, and it's very easy to have bugs that are introduced. Like, we had to have kind of a sequential timeline for each tutorial, and it was easy to get lost in that and have it like go back to a previous state. And it was difficult to keep track of what was going on. This is our second tutorial. Do y'all have any bugs that y'all want to talk about?
The text in the bottom right corner, we're still not entirely sure what happened there. We thought we removed it about 5 times, and it just keeps coming back.
That was a reintroduction of bugs. Yeah, I think that
It's
a
a
lot of
giant M from ammo.
I think, so, a lot of us, in other classes, we work on, team projects, of course. But some of them are 2-person projects, 3-person projects. So working on a 5-person project, and, one of the, obviously version control, something, we've been interested before, but, something that is still relatively new, Git, Matt's the master of Git, saved this many times. I couldn't tell you how many times bugs were reintroduced and refixed, and which was something that was definitely a problem over the course of the development.
So something I just wanted to point out, I'm sure you noticed in the top left corner we had a picture of the controller. Now something else important to us was that someone who's never seen the controller doesn't know where the buttons are. So when we say, hey, press this button, we show them where the button is. I think that was a very good thing to do, and I think that helped a lot, but I think doing more things like that, and so maybe small animations of like, hey, here's how we want you to move the stick, we want to move it this way, we want you to hold it this way. Smaller things like that, a little more subtle, but still kind of image-based things to tell the kind of user where to go. So for example, here, when I move forward, it wants me to jump. So how I did button to say jump. And I think maybe like even a small animation saying, hey, like press this, like things like that. And here, press the B button to crouch so you can see how I B button to crouch. But those are very small things, and I think making those more prominent, making those a little better for the user would improve our user experience in this.
All right, thank you, Drew.